Okay, let's get this show on the road again. And I I keep telling my thousands and thousands of listeners out there that I'm going to keep doing this show until this country, um, nay, the entire world, becomes a progressive, liberal, everybody loves everybody, everybody is treated equally, paradise on earth. So, with that, I'll play my intro music. You are listening to KPCA LP, Petaluma, California, at 103.3 FM and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. And this is the Midnight Skeptic. The views of the Midnight Skeptic are not, repeat, not necessarily the views of KPCA or any of its affiliates. Okay, as I've said on many of my show's openings, the views of the Midnight Skeptic, while not necessarily the views of KPCA, Petaluma Community Access, but they damn well should be, and the views of the Midnight Skeptic should be the views of all of my thousands and thousands of listeners out there. Yeah. But if you disagree with that, or if you don't like the show, or if you have some constructive, any kind of suggestions for the improvement of the show, just let me know and send hate mail and death threats to themidnightskeptic@gmail.com. All lowercase, all one word. Just go ahead. I'll get it, and then I'll deal with it in the appropriate manner. This is show number 45, and this is being recorded on Monday. I'm really ahead of the game here, but there's a number of things that I need to talk about that my listeners are clamoring for me to talk about. And this is the first full day of Hanukkah also. It actually started last night at sundown, but, happy Hanukkah, everybody. Let's see, shout outs. I have international audio listeners. I guess international people could get the YouTube that I'm on as well. I guess YouTube is international, but I have some followers, and I use that term in its loosest sense. I have some followers in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, Germany, and a couple in Ireland. And aside from the international crowd, I don't know how they stumbled upon my broadcast, but they're there, and my Anchor.fm is the outfit that gathers together not just mine, but all sorts of broadcasts of one sort or another, and then sends them out to its various outfits. Spotify is the main one that I'm familiar with. There's a bunch of them that I'm not familiar with. But anyway, Geraldine Goldfinger out on Long Island. Dave Rubin, Herr Doctor, in the Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina area. And Edgewater, Florida, we have Amelia Beamer. And then going across from there to Sarasota, Nelson and Alice Slidell. And then, let's see, in Arizona, my brother Brandon and his wife Mina and their daughter Andrea, my niece, who's a nurse there. And take care of yourself, Andrea. And then her husband, Tim, and their three little terrorists. And in Arkansas, Shannon Reed, listens in occasionally. And locally in San Francisco, Yvonne Santos Battaglia, and she listens in every now and then. And I guess when she has nothing better to do, she does a lot of traveling along with her husband. So, if they get so utterly bored that they tune into me, then hey, Yvonne, good to see you the last week over at Kevin and Lori's up in Katati. And then Pacifica, Stan Gustafson, and Sebastopol, Rich, and Kathy Berger. And I mentioned Kevin and Lori. I don't know if they've ever actually listened to this or not, but they're up in Katati, and they might. And in Sacramento, Dave and Rosie Takach. And Mickey Huff, who's the godfather of Project Censored. He's going to be coming out with a new book quite shortly. And he commutes down from Sacramento area. It's not Sacramento, but it's a town near there that he lives in with his wife and 2 kids. But he commutes down to Diablo Valley College, where he's a professor of history and communications. And he can be heard on this station on Wednesday at 1 o'clock. KPCA 103.3 FM or www.kpca.fm if for online purposes. Okay, and then that show of his is repeated on Fridays at 1 o'clock over at KPFA 94.1 over in Berkeley. And then the Sonora crowd, Bob and Sandy Fisher, Brad and Martha. Martha, take care of yourself. Wear your PPE. Darl Larson, Judy May, and Leonidas Maciel. And then down in Mexico City, Rosie Lopez Negrete. She tunes in now and then. And then Tom and Nancy Throw. And then Nariman, my friend I used to play basketball with. Oh, geez. It's about 30 years ago at least. Probably more than that. Down at Mill Valley Middle School. Okay. I'm going to try to include a few bits of good news, and I did manage to come up with a few because Stan Gustafson down in Pacifico insists that he wants more good news. Well, I try to please all my thousands and thousands of listeners out there. And okay. And then my listeners out there will have to indulge me a little bit because I'm going to spend, I don't know, about 20 minutes, 25 minutes maybe, on a pure anti-Republican rant. So brace yourselves, get comfortable, pour yourself a glass of wine. If you have a cat, get your cat up into your lap and be prepared to pet your cat. Okay, good news. There's a San Francisco nonprofit called New Story. It was founded in, my notes are kind of jumbled up here. In 2014, the company was founded. And what they do is they've partnered with Icon, ICON. That's the name of a construction technology company. And I don't know where they're located, but they have this massive 3D printer. And what they do is they 3D print houses. The article that I read was about this group of 50 to 60 houses that they are printing down in Tabasco, Mexico. And they're intended for lower income or Mexican families that are struggling along in poverty. The founder or co-founder of this good new story company headquartered in San Francisco, her name is Alexandria Lafsi, Lafci. She's Turkish American and African American combo. I think it was her dad that's African American, mom Turkish, or vice versa. Doesn't matter. She was the co-founder of this, along with a couple of other dudes, and the brand name of the 3D printer is the Vulcan 3D printer, and they can print an entire house. It's not very big. It's 500 square feet and single story, but it's got 2 bedrooms. It's got 1 bathroom, fully, equipped with everything a bathroom needs, and a fully equipped kitchen. And by fully equipped, I mean it's got all the plumbing and pipes and sink and everything in it. And it's all ready to be occupied in less than a week. It takes them about 24 hours of this 3D printer working with instructions embedded in the computer workings of the 3D printer to follow the architectural design of this small house. But it is very, very cozy, just judging by the pictures I've been able to see of it. Okay, and they've already printed up 151 homes in Haiti, and Haiti is the most poverty-stricken country in the Western Hemisphere. Western Hemisphere, and they certainly need it. And this could be a game changer as far as housing the poverty-stricken families in these very low-income areas of very poor countries. So, kudos to them, and I wish them success. And okay, that was a bit of good news. Stan, are you listening to that? Okay, another bit of good news. It's not going right this moment, but we know what needs to be done, and it is electric vehicle battery recycling. Now, California is leading the way in electric vehicles out on the roadway. We have, in this country, 42% of all electric vehicles in this country are out on our highways. And that amounts to 425,000, roughly, electric vehicles. And another bit of good news, FedEx is going to go electric on 1,000 of its delivery vans. Okay, well, these EVs and these delivery vans and even some of the larger trucks that are now going electric, they depend on batteries. And the batteries have to be recharged, and you can keep doing that for a certain amount of time, but eventually the batteries will have to be replaced. And lithium, element number 3, is the primary ingredient to these electric batteries. And they're, at least right now, over the world, most of the electric vehicle batteries are just tossed and disposed of. Well, there's a lot of valuable rare earths and lithium in these things that, in theory, could be reused to make new batteries. Okay. I'm off my notes. Okay, we must develop a closed loop or circular recycling system for advanced batteries here in the U.S. We don't have that yet. The good news is that lead acid batteries are about 99% recycled. I mean, we have the closed loop for that. Okay, now if we can do that, then we certainly should be able to do it with the lithium-based batteries. Okay, we must develop a closed loop or circular recycling system for advanced batteries. And there's a huge Tesla battery battery making plant just outside of Reno. I'm having a brain freeze on the name of the town or name of the city that's just to the north of Reno. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's near Reno. And they are experimenting with recollecting electric vehicle batteries and trying to figure out a economic way to recycle these things. But I like Elon Musk as a entrepreneur and a mega billionaire. I don't begrudge him his billions of dollars. He just recently sold off about 900,000 shares of Tesla stock that he owned, and sold them, converted them into cash, I guess. But he's all prepared to give a sizable chunk of that to the federal government to pay his fair share, whatever that means, to the federal government in taxes, as a lot of the progressives are insisting that billionaires do pay their fair shares. I'm all in agreement with that. Okay. Okay. A bit of bad news. Trans youth in sports. Now, by trans, I mean transgender. And this usually, like 98% of the time, applies to youth assigned at birth to be male, but develop gender dysphoria in their later years. And it usually sets in between the ages of 8 to 13. And gender dysphoria is a disconnect between their physical, genetic gender with how they feel about themselves inside their brain, inside their psyche, inside their sense of their own being. They don't quite mesh up. Now, this is a relatively rare condition, but it no matter how rare it is, there's a sizable chunk of youth that have this condition, but it's not such a large number of youth that the Republicans would be afraid to attack it. I'm going to go into this a little bit later, but given the Republican mindset, they're going to pass laws that make life harder for trans youth. Okay, case in point, I've got one for you here. Connecticut, U.S. Second Court of Appeals, and the name of the case is Soule, S-O-U-L-E, and I didn't see a little accent mark over the E, so it could be Soul or Soleil, I'm not sure which, et al. So there's more complainants to this lawsuit than just this one person named Soleil, versus Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference. Now, I think I'm going to have to research this case more, but I think Soule is the last name of a girl who was on a track team in high school that was beaten out or lost a race to a trans girl who was born male at birth, and was running in the race against her. Okay, I'm going to be a bit more specific about this, and next week's show, I'm going to have to research this case, which I will do for you. But I think that's what it is, because there's about 10 shows ago, I briefly mentioned a Connecticut high school track and field case. Okay, and the Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference allowed, with certain restrictions, trans girls to participate in sports on girls' teams. Okay. Let's see. I'm off my notes again. 2021, meaning this year, a national survey of 35,000 LGBTQ youth, 1 in 3 of them participated in sports. Now, we're still not talking about a whole lot of them. This is nationwide. Okay. And many who otherwise would have participated in sports chose not to because of all the hassles, the teasing, the bullying that went along with it. And many chose not to. Okay, I went into that. Okay. The outfit, the Trevor Project, had 4. Okay, I'm talking now about the state of Texas, that fount of progressivism. The state of Texas provided the Trevor Project with 4,000, give or take a little bit, crisis contacts. That means kids who decided to get in touch with the Trevor Project for, getting things off their chest and talking about their problems. 4,000 crisis contacts this year, 2021, from Texas because of all the anti-LGBTQ laws being considered. And these 4,000s were just transgender kids and non-binary kids. Okay. I wrote a tiny little note here. Okay, in Texas, there are more than 40 bills, and needless to say, it's a Republican-controlled, politically, state. The governor and both houses of the Texas Senate, the Texas House of Representatives, more than 40 bills that specifically target transgender and non-binary youth. Okay, that's one of the things that I'll be ranting about in just a few minutes here. Okay, well, here we go. I on last week's show, I underneath this YouTube thing that I post on my Facebook page, I said the Midnight Skeptic is going to take the gloves off about the Republican Party. Meaning I'm through playing Mr. Goodbar with them. And this is a continuation of that, albeit a little bit more organized rant, if any rants can be said to be organized. Well, here goes. Republicans. They are no longer a political party. And I said this on the last show. They are an authoritarian Trump cult. And I will strive not to mention the T word anymore. Instead, I will use the orange sociopathic bloat bag. But you all will know who I mean when I say that. Okay. A problem with the Democrats, and they have problems, is they seem to be incapable of adequately messaging what they are for and getting that message out to the American people. And another thing they don't seem to be capable of is really getting mean with the Republicans. The Republicans have no problem at all getting down into the gutter with in political fights and name calling and lying and otherwise bullying. And Democrats, by and large, being the nice, liberal progressives that most Democrats are, want to play nice. Well, in an ideal world, yes, that's how two opposing political parties would interact with each other. They would discuss in a rational manner issues of the day, and they would come to a consensus. Both sides would agree to compromise a little bit. That's old thinking. It's just not that way anymore, because we only have one political party in this country that is interested in governing, running the country, doing what benefits the people of this country. We only have one political party. The other group of politicians is just members of the cult of the orange sociopathic bloat bag, and all they want is just power. Whatever it takes, whatever they have to say, whatever they have to do to gain this power, they will do it. And Democrats, to my way of thinking, and it's not basically in our nature to do this, it's in my nature. I don't mind calling Republicans what they really are, but the mainstream Democrats are, progressivism equals nice. But anyway, okay, where was I? I'm off my notes yet again. Okay, when you see Republicans, think sniveling fealty to the orange sociopathic bloat bag and making pilgrimages to Mar-a-Lago to try to convince the orange sociopathic bloat bag how much you believe that the election was stolen, how much you admire his manliness. It's sickening to see how many Republicans make their pilgrimage down there and bootlick. Okay, but that's what Republicans are nowadays. There are no actual thoughtful politicians amongst the Republicans nowadays. Okay, when you see Republican, think fear of truth. Republicans fear to say the words, Trump lost the 2020 election. Oh, when they're pressed on it, they will say, well, the president is Joe Biden. I've heard this on a number of political interviews. And they will say, well, our president now is Joe Biden. What they will never say out of sheer fear is Trump lost the 2020 election. Okay, when you see Republicans, think anti-democracy, weapon-toting, soldier-playing, camo-wearing militia and militia wannabes, like Kyle Rittenhouse, for instance. The Proud Boys, the 3%ers, the Oath Keepers, and then up in Michigan, what was the group that tried to kidnap the governor and put her on this sham trial? Gretchen Whitmer. the Wolverine Watchers. That was a militia group up there, strutting around in their camouflage outfits and carrying around their AK-47s or their whatever weapons and playing masculine. Okay. When you see Republican, think faux patriots. That's F-A-U-X. If there's any Republicans listening to this, it's pronounced faux and means not real, phony. Okay. Think faux patriots. That word has been so degraded by the orange sociopathic bloat bag and his followers that it's lost all meaning. And at these gatherings for the orange bloat bag, you see all of these American flags flying and all of their stupid-ass clothing with our flag pattern on it, in hats and everything, in addition to the MAGA baseball caps. And occasionally you'll see the Confederate stars and bars, and then a number of these coiled snakes flags, the don't tread on me flags, but they shouldn't be allowed to take over the use of the word patriot or the use of our American flag, but they do. And okay, the freedom of speech, okay, I wouldn't be in favor of a law passed against using that, but the First Amendment, okay, we got to put up with the good with the bad, and the bad meaning Republicans. Okay, when you see Republicans, think cruelty and bullying. Republicans try to pass laws that target small in number minority communities that they think are easy marks, such as transgender kids, pregnant rape and incest victims, and disabled people. One of the more sickening things back in the 2016 election was Trump's imitation of a journalist that had, I'm not sure the condition that he had, but it was a condition that makes controlling his movements a bit problematic. And I'll never forget Trump imitating this guy and the Republicans in the audience laughing uproariously as he did this. That is so typically orange bloat baggian, and it just sickens me to think that I'm still officially a registered Republican, and I've gone into that on a number of previous shows, but I am, and I'll tell you, if there were a local or semi-local even Democratic Socialist Party around here, I think I would consider joining up with them. Certainly the beliefs of Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are quite a bit in line with mine. I may be even a bit more lefty than they are, and admittedly so. One of the things that Republican politicians say to gin up fear in their base is the word socialism. Well, we are partially a socialistic country. There's, the post office is semi-socialist. The military is a socialist endeavor. There's all sorts of partly socialist endeavors that involve the government. It's not a bad thing. We should be more socialist in this country. We should look to the Nordic countries, Denmark, Iceland, Norway, Sweden, Finland, as the ideals to shoot for. And I understand that the size of our country kind of mitigates against us having a socialist democratic system like they have, because it's easier if your population is quite homogeneous, and ours is not. But they should be held up as ideals to shoot for. Okay. But no, we're a capitalist country in theory. There's a lot of restrictions on capitalism in this country. I mean, you can't. I don't want to get off my notes too far, but we're not purely a capitalist country, and we certainly are not as socialistic as I would hope that we are moving toward. Okay. I'm off my notes again, as you can tell out there. Okay. When you see Republican, think more than just anti-intellectualism and anti-science. Think Louis Gohmert of Texas, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Paul Gosar. Typical dyed-in-the-wool Republicans. Think Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana, who thinks that to play up to his voters in the state of Louisiana, he has to play a foghorn leghorn type character, type of a hick that should embarrass Louisiana voters. He, in fact, is a very well-educated person. He went to Vanderbilt. He graduated magna cum laude. Let's see. He went to law school at Virginia Law School, Virginia's College of Law, or University of Virginia Law School. Damn, can't read my writing. And in 1977, he got his law degree. And he went to Oxford University over in England, where he got his civil law degree in 1979. But to hear him talk, and it's completely put on. That's really not his normal speaking voice. If you ran across him at a nice upscale restaurant in Wisconsin, say Madison, Wisconsin, and had a conversation with him, I'm sure that he would just talk properly like any well-educated American. But no, he has to play this country bumpkin, foghorn, leghorn hick because he thinks that makes him more, lovable to his voting base. If I were a resident of Louisiana, and thank God I'm not, I would be embarrassed to think that one of my senators thinks that of me. It just... But he's a Republican, so embarrassment is not in his vocabulary. Okay, when you see Republican, think lying, think fake news, think conspiracy theories, and especially Fox News. Thank you, Rupert Murdoch, for foisting this right-wing propaganda machine on an unsuspecting public. I guess, being the good businessman that he is, and I think he is, he saw a need for this, or at least a niche for this, and he filled it with Fox News. And about 25 to 30% of the American public has swallowed the Fox News Kool-Aid. Well, Rupert Murdoch is 90 now. And I don't normally wish death on anyone, but he's done enough damage. He should just shuck these mortal coals and just get off this planet. Okay. I need a sip of water here. Ranting really creates a thirst. Okay. One of the reasons that I'm doing this so early, I mean, this is Monday, and this is what I'm recording right now, although it'll be on YouTube like later on tonight. It's about 9 o'clock right now. This won't be broadcast on KPCA LP 103.3 FM in Sonoma County. It won't be broadcast until its usual time on Sunday, which is going to be, oh God, what day is it going to be? The 5th. The 5th of December at its usual time at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. The people out on the East Coast, if they go to www.kpca.fm, it'll be midnight when they get to listen to my melodious voice. The YouTube people can see me at any time as soon as this is up on YouTube. So, okay, enough of that. I was going to say one of the reasons that I wanted to do this show like now, instead of waiting till Wednesday or Thursday, which is what I usually do. The Omicron variant of COVID-19 has been detected over the last day or two to be in the first stages of spreading around here, and not around here specifically, not even in the United States yet. It probably is here, but no doctor has diagnosed it yet. But and we don't know if it's more transmissible or more virulent, or whether it evades the COVID-19 vaccinations. We don't know that yet. It's being worked on. But leave it to the Republicans. The GOP, MAGA-head conservative Trumpers are saying that Omicron is a Democratic Party created plot or fake news to help Democrats win in 2022. And I've got the person that said that. I'm not making this up, really. Texas Republican Congressman Ronnie Jackson, and he's supposedly a doctor. He was Trump's physician, and he did some news things from the White House briefing room before Trump lost the 2020 election. Anyway, okay, so Ronnie Jackson, he's a congressman now from Texas. Of course he's from Texas. And he was the orange sociopathic bloat bags physician. He said, and this is a quote, he tweeted it out himself. I mean, I'm not sure that he did it himself. He may have hired somebody to do it. Maybe he doesn't know how to tweet. But it's out there. Quote, "Here comes the midterm election variant," or the MEV as he abbreviated it. They need, and they meaning the Democrats, they need a reason to push unsolicited nationwide mail-in ballots. Democrats will do anything to cheat, okay, during an election, but we're not going to let them. Da, 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 da. Fox News creep Peter Hegseth. I think, I'm not quite sure who he is. I think he's one of those three dimwits that is on Fox and Friends in the morning hours. I think he's one of those guys. Anyway, he said, count on a variant about every October, every 2 years. Oh, those Democrats. Okay. So, I hope that this Omicron variant of the COVID-19 doesn't set our country back too far. But, let's keep our fingers crossed. Okay. There was an article in Mother Jones that has been sitting on my desk right in back of me about things that I collect all these articles. Here's for the YouTube people. And there are way too many articles that I collect that I just never get around to talking about. But it's worth it. And this is a little bit of history about the Tea Party creeps. Okay. And the title of this article was Hello Deplorables. Now, in the 2016 election, at one point, Hillary Clinton characterized the followers of the orange sociopathic bloat bag as deplorables. Well, she's right, but it was a political big mistake to actually say that and refer to them as that. It couldn't do anything except hurt her. If there were any of the followers of the orange sociopathic bloat bag that were wavering on the fence as to who to vote for, well, that pushed him over into the orange bloat bags camp. She just shouldn't have said it, even though she's absolutely right. They are deplorable. Okay. Hello, deplorables. Okay, that's how Amy Kremer, Kremer, Amy Kremer, greeted the thousands of Trump supporters she had helped gather at the Ellipse in Washington, D.C. on January 6th of this year to, quote, stop the steal. Resplendent on stage in a bold leopard print shawl, with the White House rising up behind her, the former flight attendant had come a long way since she and another Georgia woman, Jenny Beth Martin, became known as the, quote, founding mothers, of the Tea Party movement back in 2009. Well, why did the Tea Party movement start in 2009? Who was just inaugurated as president? Well, Barack Obama. And some of these Tea Party gatherings that the news at 6 film, some of the signs that they were holding up were, deplorable. In their depictions of President Obama as what their idea of an African native was like, with a bone through his nose. The few Republican friends I have and one or two Republican relatives just continue to protest that, the Republicans are not racists. Well, I'm telling you, they are. They are direct descendants of the Ku Klux Klan. Okay, and I'm off my article here. Okay, a former flight attendant, Amy Krimmer, had come a long way since she and another Georgia woman, Jenny Beth Martin, became known as, I'm repeating myself, okay, founding mothers of the Tea Party movement back in 2009. Okay, during the heyday of the grassroots conservative movement that had sprung up to oppose President Barack Obama, I would go further than just opposing him. That means that they have differing, well thought out political positions. No, they were just resentful that a black guy was elected president. Okay, I'm going to skip around here. They were fighting, okay, this is the Tea Parties. They were fighting against the Affordable Care Act. The Tea Party had helped elect hardcore conservatives who blew up immigration reform and took down former Republican House Speaker John Boehner. Remember him? I didn't agree with almost anything that he stood for, but at least he was a honorable Republican partisan politician. Well, he went the way of all actual governing politicians in the Republican Party. They're all replaced with Kevin McCarthy's. Ugh, what a vomit-inducing creep he is. Okay. I'm actually, I can't remember the guy, and there may be more than one, that's running against Kevin McCarthy down in his Southern California district. But if I'm going to kick in $5 or $10 to somebody's campaign, it'll be whoever that person is. Okay, enough of that. Okay, 6 months into the life of the movement, now they're talking about the Tea Party movement, the two women split up. I don't know. This was before a bitter legal dispute over tactics and money and salacious rumors. And this article doesn't go into what those rumors were, but doesn't matter. Okay, this president, meaning Trump, hasn't asked for much from us. Kremer told the cheering Trump supporters that day, January 6th. He's asked us for our vote, and he asked us to show up today. And I don't think he's going to be disappointed. As one of the defeated president's most loyal cheerleaders, she landed on the same stage as him. And she was one of the speakers at the January 6th gathering. In the decade since it began, the Tea Party movement has united several disparate strains of right-wing extremists, Islamophobes, nativists, paramilitaries, Christian and white nationalists, under a single banner. The movement triggered by the election of the first black president, quote, blew down all the barriers, unquote, once separating these groups, says Devin Burghardt, the executive director of the Institute for Research and Education on Human Rights, who has studied the Tea Party since its inception. It created a mass movement for this far-right activity that has been successful at moving ideas about white victimhood and white dispossession into the mainstream of American politics. Poor white people. Oh, jeez. I feel for them. I'm white. I don't feel dispossessed or I'm not a victim. And, honestly, I was born into semi-white privilege. My folks were middle class or upper middle class. We had nice houses, and I went to a school where there were no blacks. There was, as I remember it, at Lincoln Grammar School in Stockton, California, there was one Asian that I can remember and about two Latinos. Maybe they were Mexicans. I'm not sure what country they came from, but that was it. That was it. The rest of it was so white, it was blinding to look at the student body. Okay, I'm not going to read this whole article, but okay, one more paragraph and then I'll get on to something else. How much time do I have left? Oh, it's getting close. Though they took different paths to January 6th, together, Krimmer and Martin's story reveals the larger tale of how the Tea Party surged, faded, and then mutated into a diehard pro-Trump operation instrumental in the radicalization of the Republican Party. This is a quote. "I come from the Tea Party movement, and I'm asked all the time, what happened to the Tea Party?" Krimmer told the crowd at the Ellipse. "Well, we're still here. We just grew and morphed into something bigger and better, the MAGA movement. And I'm convinced that were it not for the Tea Party movement, we would not have the President Donald J. Trump today." Okay. I'm going to have to play my out music. You have been listening to The Midnight Skeptic on KPCA LP, Petaluma, California. And we're at 103.3 on the FM dial and worldwide at www.kpca.fm. Support community radio at patreon.com/Petaluma Community Access. And remember, think critically, think logically, but live joyously, and most importantly, pet your cats. Hey, I think I hit it this time. I've got a few seconds left before the 58-minute mark, where KPCA LP 103.3 FM cuts me off for their own announcements. So for all my listeners out there, if you got a few bucks lying around, contribute to Patreon for our Petaluma Community Access or the Trevor Project. It's a very worthwhile organization that helps LGBTQ youth that are in distress. And I think by now we all know who causes their distress. Republicans. Okay, that'll do it for now. See you guys next week.